My daughter received a bike from her uncle, my brother, on her birthday. She was over the moon and excited to use it because it had been on her wish list for so long days ago. I discovered that my husband reached out to my brother to ask for the receipt for the bike and returned it to the store and kept the money for himself while my daughter was at school. The bike was at home. My daughter and I got home and she started crying after noticing the bike was gone. My husband was at home at the time. He told me he returned the bike and got money in return to spend on something useful for us, since the bike was just there as a distraction and there was no need for it. Now, since we're the dead of winter, I was aggravated and lost it on him, saying it wasn't. His didn't come from him. He didn't pay for it, so he had no right to touch it, especially knowing our daughter's been wanting it for a long time, and my brother was decent enough to buy it for her despite barely having money to get him by. I told him what he did was theft and insisted he handed the money over to me so I could repurchase it. But he said he spent it on stuff for the house and doesn't have any money left now. But I knew about the money he was stashing away in the bedroom that he forbade me from touching, and I took some of it and went out to repurchase the bike while he was out the next day. He found out and verbally lashed out at me, saying I should have never touched the money he was saving for himself, which isn't much. But I lashed right back that I had to so I could repurchase the bike he took from under our daughter. He explained that he didn't keep the money for himself and instead spent it on necessities for our home, but he was at fault for taking the bike first and he was responsible for getting it back. He yelled at me for almost 10 minutes, then stormed outside and started smoking. My daughter asked why her dad was upset and that she no longer wants the bike if dad doesn't want her to have it. But I assured her that's not the case and told her she shouldn't feel guilty and to just focus on enjoying her bike. My husband hasn't stopped grilling me about how I disrespected and undermined him and managed to make our daughter hate him after making him look like the bad guy. I again said he shouldn't have touched the bike. End of story. He's called me a thief and a juvenile for taking money from his savings and being sneaky about it. Am I the idiot for the way I got the bike back? Not the idiot. Your husband is so crappy. He has to steal from your kids yet. He somehow has enough money to smoke. I'm wondering why you're with this man. He seems to care only about himself and not even a bit of you or your daughter. Are you with him for your daughter? Because trust me, she doesn't need that kind of drama in her life. It's better not to have a dad than to have a dad that steals from you for his fun. Not the idiot. Your husband stole your daughter's gift and you made it right. And he's hiding money you aren't allowed to touch. He sounds incredibly awful and controlling. I foresee a future where he has been long since divorced, begging his daughter to crash on her couch only to paw her TV while she's out utter trash of a father. Not only is he controlling, but he forbid her to touch the money and dared to call her the thief for being sneaky and going into his savings to repurchase the bike. Yet he waited until they weren't home and returned the bike and kept the money. So who's the real thief here? Not the idiot. And also you should start up your own little savings. He doesn't know about as well to leave his butt, and please don't stash it in the house. And who steals their own kids' birthday gifts? OP, if you don't have a prenup, you have the same legal right to take every penny from his savings because all savings are legally your common savings. He cannot use double standards on his actions and on your actions. Either you are both thieves or none of you. Did your husband give you a list of what these necessities he bought were, or just say the money was gone? I would want to see what he actually bought, not to excuse him, but to see if it went on what he said. Also, have you told your brother what he did if I were them? I'd be incredibly angry about it. Story 2. So I, 25 female, have been dating my boyfriend 25 for a little over a year due to the fact that he doesn't live near his family and the world situation. I hadn't met his family yet. They traveled to him for his 25th birthday and he asked me to meet them. I was of course excited about this and readily agreed, though I stressed he had to tell them about me. I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user, which means I do have some limited mobility, but I rely on my chair quite a bit. I didn't want them surprised when they met me and I kept stressing to him that he had to tell them about me. I didn't specifically say that he should say about the chair, but I figured that was a given. I was wrong. However, as when I wheeled out to meet them with him, their faces fell and they were clearly shocked and some things quickly became awkward. Later on, during the birthday celebrations, I had to field some questions that made me very uncomfortable. And when they found out I had limited mobility, they were so relieved that honestly, I felt very upset as I have limited mobility now. But that may not be the case in the future. There were even some jokes from his brother when he found the rail at the toilet my boyfriend had installed to use the bathroom at his. The real issue happened though when his mother asked if I was able to have kids then, and I told her that was very personal and none of her business. She got very defensive and told me she was just wondering if her son and I decided to have kids one day if we'd adopt, etc. I won't lie. I got pretty upset and told her we hadn't discussed kids yet and that was up to us in the future. I ended up leaving with my boyfriend following me, trying to make me come back, telling me I was overreacting, and his family was just surprised. And being nosy, when I asked him why he didn't tell them I used a wheelchair, he told me he hadn't thought it necessary that he told them about me as a person and the chair wasn't part of me. I told him like it or not, it was a part of me and he should have given them a heads up. This was yesterday and I'm honestly still very upset by this. He keeps texting me and telling me his family didn't mean to upset me, but I've not answered him yet. Am I wrong to be upset that he'd keep this from them? Which led to the situation, not the idiot he should have told them as you requested. The questions his family asked are classic ableism, and telling them in advance would have saved you the trouble of them pestering you all weekend. And more than that, he shouldn't have said your cheer wasn't part of you. That gives me big overcome your disability vibes. I'm sorry, OMG, not the idiot. The comment about kids. What? That's your business, no matter what. That question alone justifies you leaving in a huff. They don't want your boyfriend to be tied down to a broken woman who uses a wheelchair, who can't have intimacy or can't bear children and needs 24/7 help from her future husband. That is why they were relieved to know you're only an ambulatory wheelchair user. Unfortunately, it means you're just a little broken. I hope you can hear the anger. I'm writing this with your boyfriend and his family are major idiots, though. Even if you hadn't requested that they be told ahead of time to lessen your discomfort, their reaction and his comments were totally out of line and disrespectful. I am still working on this myself, but please know you are never obligated to answer nosy question, no matter who is asking, if you are uncomfortable with it. Story 3. When I was 21, I got a girl named Kat pregnant. I didn't want the kid or to be a part of their lives, but I was pressured by my father to do, saying stuff like a man doesn't abandon their woman or child. Kat was happy I was in her life, but I got scared and left when she gave birth. After my daughter turned 1, I went in no contact with Kat and my daughter for 16 years. Once I left, my life changed. I started a new career in music, made a lot of money, and recently dated a new woman 4 months ago. But my father still reminds me of Kat every day, saying how I'm a deadbeat for abandoning her. In addition, my father still sees Kat and my daughter and pays more attention to them than me. This made me jealous, but at the same time, I felt guilty, and I felt that I was young and scared and I didn't have the emotional experience I did. Now, I wanted to get back in contact with my daughter because of this. She's 18 now, so maybe she wants to see me through my father. I was able to get Kat's contacts. I talked to her about life and how things were going. She told me to cut the crap and ask what I wanted. I said, to be blunt, I want my daughter back and to build a relationship between you and her. Again, I want to be a father again. Kat told me she doesn't want me near her daughter and she already has a father. Apparently, when I left, Kat married a man. A few years later, she considers him her father. She hung up, but I didn't stop there. I actually got my daughter's phone contact from my father. I'll admit I went through his phone. I called my daughter and I explained everything to her, how I wanted her back, how I'm sorry for everything, and how I'm ready to be a real father. But she told me to get lost because I heard her mother and hung up. I was so upset by this and went to my dad about it, how to make things right. He told me to just leave them alone. I want to be a part of my kid's life. Sure, I was an idiot back then. I was young, but I'm better now. Am I the idiot, OP? You abandoned your child and the mother of your child. Not just for a little while either, for 16 years. The mother of your child kept in contact with her kid's paternal grandfather for all this time. The mother of your child remarried, gave the kid a stable life, all while you put in no effort or support. 16 years later, you went through your dad's phone and started harassing the teenager who shares nothing with you but DNA. Seriously, I don't know why you think you have any kind of right here at all. Leave them alone. Back off, you idiot. The worst part for me is literally he says he's jealous of his dad and that's why he wants his daughter back. I'm glad his daughter can recognize how much she doesn't need him. Well, you are the idiot, OP, and still sound like the same type of person. You were at 21. Kids aren't disposable. You made a choice now. Live with it. You are the idiot. You went through your dad's phone to get the contact info of the daughter you abandoned for 16 years. Yeah, that ship has sailed. I'm sure Kent was also young and scared and didn't have emotional experience when she was left alone to raise your child. But she managed without you. You don't get to decide you're ready. Now, after all this time, your daughter gave you your answer. Just accept it, and you weren't young. You were 21, not a teen. Your father was right. You bailed on your daughter and her mother. You don't just get to decide to re-enter her life. Story 4. When my children went to college, I put aside money to buy them their first house. This money was from an inheritance I had received. The only caveat was that I had to wait a few years before taking the money out, so only one house could be bought at a time. My youngest was expecting a child with his wife, so I first bought his house in 2018. My oldest was not happy with this, but I convinced him that it was the better decision. I can now take out the remaining money to give to my oldest. Well, he's now asking me to buy a house for him in the same area as his brother. But since 2018, house prices have quite literally doubled. So the money I put aside can in no way pay for that. And this has created a huge conflict in my family, with my oldest being extremely angry at me. I've apologized, but I didn't think the market would be so unaffordable. I offered to give him the entire amount to do as he wished, and the cash gift amount for my estate and my will. My eldest took the money, bought a house in a different state, and now we have a very tense relationship. I'm incredibly sad that what I thought would be a lovely gift has broken up the family. I feel even worse because this has messed up the relationship between my two sons. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You couldn't control the housing market. You did your best to give him an equal share and even compensate for a situational discrepancy that was outside your control. He took the money and is still being crappy to you. I'm sorry. OP, you are the idiot. I don't understand why you wouldn't split the money you could take out between them so they could both afford a down payment on a home and then split the remainder when you could to help them pay off the mortgage. Frankly, if you had helped with the down payment, I don't see why you'd even need to pay off the house. Why does one kid need an entire house free and clear while the other kid has to pay rent for 2 more years? People with children can still pay a mortgage. I'm hesitant to call you an idiot for an incredibly generous gift, but I'm going to say you are the idiot. You could have split the money up fairly, but instead you made yourself the judge over their life choices and arbitrarily decided against your older son. This isn't really about the money. It's about the way you decided who deserves what. When if you want to fix this, I think a genuine apology and admitting that you made a mistake might go a lot further than a cash gift in your will. I think I would say everyone's the idiot here though. The oldest sucks for feeling entitled to OPS money. Oldest got $200K free and clear for just being born to the right parent. That being said, I see why the oldest would feel resentful. They probably feel like they were punished or devalued for not starting a family early and having PS grandchildren. I feel like we see this a lot. For example, treating adult children who provide grandchildren as if they deserve more than their childless siblings. I'm sure most parents don't intend it to come across like that, but that's how it can feel. I agree with people saying GoP should have just given them half of each withdrawal instead of deciding that the youngest deserves it more because they decided to start a family first. Story 5. At 28, Mel did not have the best childhood. My parents' 60s favored my sister 30 and gave her everything she needed. She got her first car when she turned 16 years old, all new electronics, and was able to attend her dream school fully paid. Unfortunately, my grandfather got sick when it came time for me to attend school, and I decided to stay and be his caregiver while attending community college. I helped take full care of him until he passed away in 2017 and stayed around to help my grandmother. My parents only showed up to my grandfather's funeral in hopes that they would receive everything. When they both passed away, my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer and I helped take her to her appointments, cooked meals, and cared for the house. She told me that everything would be left behind to me. I was very grateful and promised her that I would take care of their home. She passed away a few months ago and I was given the house and some money. My sister moved back up to be in town as she struggled financially and was hopeful that there would be money for her. She reached out to me asking if we could meet, and I was very reluctant at first because she went no contact with me. I agreed in hopes that we could maybe build a brother and sister relationship. We met at a local restaurant, and my sister started talking about how she was struggling and pregnant with her ex-boyfriend's child and needed a new car. She asked me if I would be willing to give her some of the inheritance money to use for herself and give some to our parents. I did not tell her the amount left to me as it was not her business. I told her that if she had spent time with her grandparents before they passed, that she might have been left some of the inheritance. She got angry and told me that I had lost the privilege of being an uncle to her daughter. She stormed out of the restaurant and has not been in contact with me. My parents found out and they think that I'm wrong for not helping my sister. Am I the idiot for not giving my sister any inheritance from my grandparents? Not the idiot, do not enable her. She squandered her opportunities and now wants you to give up yours that you earned through love and sacrifice. Screw that. And the horse, her entitlement, rode in on. She got angry and told me that I lost the privilege of being an uncle to her daughter. Count your blessings for dodging that bullet. He lost the privilege of doing infinity hours of free childcare. Oh, the horror. It's your money and your choice. Your sister is the idiot for saying you essentially have to buy the right to be in her child's life. Also, it's 50-50. She's lying. Maybe there's no baby at all. Not the idiot. You never need a new car. Also, it's awful convenient that she finally comes back now after they've both passed, and the money is freed up. OP, I am so sorry for your loss. You did something many people cannot do for their own parents, and it was your grandparents. They saw that and they wanted to ensure your kindness went rewarded. Your family are vultures who are trying to take what they can get. Now that they've passed, being a blood relation doesn't make you entitled to someone's money. They chose you for a damn good reason. You keep it for yourself and enjoy your life because it's what they wanted for you.